Well, we are nearly halfway through an initiative aimed at raising awareness of the global persecution of Christians. Red Week began nearly a decade ago. It was started by the Catholic group Aid to the Church in Need and draws attention by projecting red lights onto hundreds of cathedrals, churches, and monuments. Joining us now from Germany is Mark von Riedemann, head of advocacy at ACN International. Mark, great to be with you today. Tell us more about the initiative and also what are the main activities that you all prepared for this year's Red Week?
Okay, so the Red Week goes back actually to an effort that was in 2015 by our Brazilian office in Rio when they saw the suffering of the Christians by the violence being inflicted on them by ISIS in Iraq. And so they lit the Christ the Redeemer statue red in commemoration. And after this, it kind of took its own dynamic. And today we have a Red Week where we have about 10,000 people expected to attend at events in over a dozen countries around the world. And we're going to be lighting, for example, about 20 cathedrals around the world, including, for example, St. Patrick's in Australia, about 100 churches in Germany, about 150 churches in the Netherlands, and another 100 churches in Austria, including the parliament is going to be lit for the first time in Austria.
Mark, when it comes to persecuted Christians, what are the areas of most concern? And also, is the situation getting better or worse as you see it?
I would have to say, regrettably, the situation is getting worse. We produce a religious freedom report every 2 years, and what we see is the reports are almost prophetic, and we see that Christian persecution is getting more acute and more intense. And, for example, just very straightforward, almost 4.9 billion people live in countries where there's serious or very serious violations of religious freedom. That's almost 1/3 of the world's countries. And Christians, by the very fact that they are in almost every country all around the world, is still the biggest faith group suffering persecution. And just some examples for you. Terrorist attacks, for example, by Islamist groups in the Middle East and Sub-Saharan Africa are exploding, and the Christians are suffering tremendous violation and persecution. Mass surveillance in China, for example, you have 560 million cameras which are tracking churchgoers because they might be considered a threat to the state. Anti-conversion laws are occurring in India and expanding now also in Nepal, where, for example, those who want to change their religion, for example, from Hinduism to Christianity, are being financially penalized, but so are those that might be helping them, the spiritual guide. And so churches are being less able to invite people to consider coming to Christianity. So this just gives you a perspective in a very brief way of the scope of the problem facing Christians today around the world.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about all this. Really important. We appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you very much. It was great to be with you.